Hello, I'm John. Welcome back to our series on business resilience. And today I'm going to talk to you about the fourth area that I think you can look at to improve your business's capacity to withstand change and to recover when the worst happens. The area we're going to look at today is customers. Now, in a previous video, I was telling you that a key part of the money-making machine, a key process that you need to have is your sales process, your ability to turn a customer's desire into money for your business. But I think that customers also play a much bigger part in a business's ability to withstand change, because it's not just down to the sales team to find new business all of the time, but a customer is standing by you whilst they use your service, whilst they buy your goods. It's an exchange, and they are giving you some confidence, and if we look after them, they will stay loyal. And so this is worth remembering. They will stay loyal and they will help to spread the good news. And so if you have a group of customers who understand your process and who trust your process and your business, then they will help your business to withstand change because they will be loyal. They will be sharing the good news for you. You've created an environment where it's much easier to withstand change and to recover should the worst happen. I'd like to give you an example from my own business and from back at the time where COVID was starting to become a thing and the idea was first being mentioned that we might be locked down. And as we went into lockdown, my focus shifted from the day job for me, which is preparing accounts and advising people, but predominantly preparing accounts, towards helping people understand this massive change that was happening. I was fortunate for my business. I already had a bit of a plan in place for this. It was off the back of our snow day plan. What would happen if the business had to shut for a day because there was too much snow and no one could get down their drive? As it happened, that was quite a fantastic place to start for what was to come. So I was quite relaxed about that, and my focus was on talking to my customers, and I'm so glad I did, because I was speaking to people who meant a lot to me and meant a lot to my business. I was talking to them about what their concerns were, about what troubles they could see coming, and because of the strength of that relationship, I think we were able to help each other through the months that followed. We were able to offer each other support, and we were able to work with trust that the other person was going to be there and that we could depend upon them. Now, this is only my side. I hope my customers would agree with me. They certainly seemed to at the time, and it certainly helped me to get through what was to come. Customers are a key part of the business, and it's not just a case of sell to them and forget them. To build your business resilience, to build your capacity to withstand change, keeping a strong relationship with customers is absolutely vital. However, not every customer is created equal. Not every person is going to fit into your money-making machine. Some people want things that you do not provide. Some people want things you do provide, but they do not want to follow your process. I believe what will happen is that if you do define your process, if you do frame that picture of your money-making machine and put it on the wall, if you do proudly say to them, this is how we make money and this is how we can help you, they will look at it and go, that works for me, or that doesn't work for me. And you will quickly be able to find at the start of your business relationship whether this is someone who's going to help fuel your money-making machine or someone who's just not going to fit into it. And that's okay. Not everyone will fit in. Not everyone will want to be part of that machine. This is something we will talk about again when we move on to staff in a later video. But not everyone will want to follow the process that you want your business to follow. And if you have your process and you're trying to dependably follow it, it's important that you find the people who want to work with you towards that, and that you put your attention towards working with them, because this will improve the reliability of your results. This will improve investor confidence. This will improve cash in your bank. This will improve your business's ability to withstand change. Because you have people who like what you're doing. You will be going with the grain instead of against the grain. It will make it much easier for you to do business in a repeatable way. And for the innovators, that will allow you to relax a bit, and it will allow your innovating brain to get started on the next idea. So believe it or not, having that dependable process helps an innovator rather than hurts them. So not every customer is equal, and not everyone's going to fit into your machine, and it's important to identify the people who don't fit in. It's important to identify the people who do fit in. And it's absolutely okay to have a frank conversation with them that says, this is the machine that we have created, this is the process. We've been working together for a long time, but I don't think that this is what you want, am I right? And they will either look at your frame picture and say, yeah, that's exactly, they'll either look at your framed picture and say, this is absolutely not what I want. Or they will say, this is what I want. I didn't know this is what you guys did. Let's work on that. Some will go one way, some will go the other. Some will move closer to the middle of your money-making machine, and some will walk towards the door. But that's okay, because what you have moved towards is a more efficient machine and more dependable results. This is really good for business resilience. This is really good for business growth. Because now when your innovator is starting to tweak the machine, is starting to replace parts that aren't working well, is starting to improve processes that could be doing better, they will be doing it with these customers in mind instead of the whole load of customers that you could have had before. People who want to help you and people who don't necessarily want to help you in the way that you need help. So narrow down that customer list to the people who want to follow your machine and develop business processes that work for you and for them, the people who are supporting you as you support them. So this is about customers that we already have and going through them and working out which ones we want to work with the most. One of the ways that we can look at it is, are they following our process? But there's another way as well, which is, are they making us profit? It's not always easy to see on a customer by customer basis. Now I'm talking about a business that has a relatively small number of customers. If you work in retail, I'll come back to that, but there's a slightly different way we can look at this. But if we look at a business that has a relatively small number of customers with a relatively large price per item they buy, we want to be looking at the profit we're making on these jobs. There's a few different ways you can look at profit. And I'd like to start with the one that's probably the most straightforward. If you have your accounts, take your sales, take your costs, and remove your cost from your sales and you get your profit. Now, I'm not talking about every single cost of the business. At the moment, all I'm talking about is your direct costs. Things that you have had to buy specifically because you have a contract to sell. For example, if I sell widgets, I need to make widgets. And so my direct cost will be the cost of materials and the cost of labor to make my widget. If you take your sales price, you take away your costs of making it, you get your gross profit. This is really useful for determining not just how much money we're receiving into our machine, but when that comes out the other end of our process, the other end of our money-making machine, how much is left for us? How much is left for the administration team to keep the business running, to keep the lights on, to keep the staff employed? Because it's very easy to fall into the trap of having high turnover work, but that is also high cost, with a very small amount of profit left for the administration team to run your business. At the moment, you'll probably notice I'm using the words team and process kind of interchangeably. They are different things. Team and process are different things. But when I'm talking about your admin team, I'm talking about your admin process. It won't always be people. So let's look for profit, not simply sales. Let's consider which jobs are making us lots of money and which jobs are making us a small amount of money. I said this was a simple way of looking at it, and I think this is a way that any business, retail or not retail, They can all look at it in that way. But with a retail business, you can also start looking at which products am I making the most money on. If I sell this and that, how much money do I make from this, and how much money does it cost me to make that? How much money do I make from this, and how much money does it cost to make from that? You can look at them separately and consider which one is fueling my machine with turnover and which one is fueling my machine with profit. Once you know this, it's very hard to do anything but focus on the one that is making you profit. And if you are focusing on something that is making you turnover but not profit, you are reducing your business, you're potentially reducing your business's capacity to withstand change. There needs to be a good reason to do work that is low profit. That doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing. Sometimes you need to do some low profit work to access the high profit work. But sometimes you're doing the low profit work because someone told you they need it, but not necessarily because your business, money-making machine, needs it. If you are working with a smaller number of customers with a larger price per ticket, then you might look at it on a per customer basis instead of a per product basis. And it's as simple as this. List your customers, list the amount of money they are making for you, and list the profit that you're making per customer. This is one way, but not the only way to value your customers, but it's a great place to start. I certainly don't want you to go away from this and say, dear customer, I watched this video by Jon and it was great. He told me to look at my customers and work out who I was making money on, who I wasn't. I'm not making much money on you, so Jon says you've got to go. That's not what I'm saying at all. Customer loyalty, customers' value to your money-making machine can depend on more than just profit. But for sure, I'd like you to know how much profit you're making on each customer, so that when you're making a decision about who you want to be working within your money-making machine, you're making that decision knowing what the likely outcome is going to be in terms of the money they will help you to make. So think about this with your existing customers, and think about this when you're looking for new customers. I don't want you to be hunting for more and more turnover. I want you to be hunting for more and more profit. Once you have this in your mind, it helps you to focus your marketing activities. You can look at your marketing process, at your sales process, and say, is this process helping me to make turnover, or is it helping me to make profit? You can look at where you spend your time and your energies networking, selling, advertising. You can look at whether, for example, social media is the best way to make profitable money and work, or whether it's going to be face-to-face. You can look at all sorts of different marketing activities, and you can think which ones are bringing me sales and which ones are bringing me money, profit. An example of that, I suppose, is I used to work in a supermarket a long, long time ago, and whenever the newspapers had an advert for frozen chips, people used to flood into the supermarket with their newspaper advert cut out with a little voucher in the corner to get the chips at a ridiculously low price. And I'm sure that on that deal, the supermarket and the people making those frozen chips were not making a lot of money on that packet. But I do hope that they were doing that to build brand loyalty. And over time, once these chips have gone back up to their full price, over time they're able to make good profit per customer. I'm telling you this story as an example of somewhere that you might not be making a whole load of profit on an individual sale. But I am absolutely certain that the people behind this advertising campaign were hunting for profit. They were just looking a little bit more long term. And this is what I'm talking about. It's not as simple as there's no profit on this. Jon says you've got to go. How is your business money-making machine going to make profit over time? And now I'm going to leave you with a metric for today. And I'd like to go a little bit more accounting than I have on some of the others. And I'd like to give you a bit of homework. I'd like you to be able to answer the question, I know how much profit I make per customer, or how much profit I make per product. If you are able to answer that question, then you will be building your capacity for business resilience. Because if you know how much money you're making per customer, how much profit you're making per customer or per product, you can't help but then be aware of which ones you're making great money from and which ones you're not making such great money from. And I bet you will find a few surprises in there. Whenever I do this for my business, I absolutely find a few surprises in there, which is why we do it quite frequently, just to reduce the number of surprises that we're hit with, because we've seen them coming and we've taken action to stop it from happening. If you find surprises, I'd love it if you let me know. I really believe that this is an eye-opening exercise. List your customers, list how much money you've made from them, list your products and list how much money you've made from them. For my business, we do both. We look at our list of customers and we look at our list of products, whether it's accounts or bookkeeping or advisory services, and how much money we're making from them. And then we look at whether it's fair. Then we look at whether there is one customer that's paying so much that we can afford to have a few loss-making ones. And then we are able to question, is that right? Or we may be able to tweak the prices for the ones who are not paying enough up, and the ones for the guys who are paying over the odds down, to make sure that everyone's getting a fair price. But everyone is also conforming with the fundamentals of our money-making machine. And one of those for us is that everyone is paying the same price for the service, so that we're not considering one customer to be better or more worthy than the other, because they're all paying the same rates. For me, that's a really important part of my process, and that's one of the things that we're able to look at when we look at sales. And I think this helps us to build our customer loyalty, and it helps us to create a customer base who will help us to withstand changes in the business market. So please look at this for yourself. How much money am I making per customer, per product? I hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to sharing with you the 2 areas that we haven't covered yet that I think will help you to improve your business's capacity to withstand change.